actually, we're going to start laying down. So we're going to start laying down on our backs, but keep your props with you, because once we lay down, we are going to come into a twist. So in the event that you usually like to have a prop near you for a twist, you can kind of just keep things close by. And I'll probably repeat that again. So allowing yourself to come to lay back down, just be comfortable as if it was Shavasana, but you don't need all your props. So just laying back down comfortably. We're going to ground here and begin our class here on our backs. Because we are going to transition into a twist once we open up for class, if you do want to keep your props close by, you're welcome to keep the props close by. But we'll start laying down. And lay down however you want. Arms are close to you, arms are up above you, knees are bent, legs are straight. Just allow yourself to come back and lay down. I will do the same. And as you lay down here, if it's comfortable for you, let the eyes close. And then begin to arrive into stillness, just as we normally would. Taking a sweep of consciousness, allow yourself to relax into the body. And as you relax, begin to notice the contact between your body and floor. Notice the contact between the body and the floor beneath you. And as you begin to notice the sounds and textures of the breath, notice the contact between your breath and your body. So again, continue to notice the contact between the body and floor. And then begin to notice the contact between your breath and your body. Notice the contact between the bones and your body. The contact between the muscles and your body. And the contact between the organs and your body. Continue to notice all this contact. And then we can begin to imagine that interconnected webbed tissue. Notice the contact between the fascia and the entire length of your body from head to toe. From there, begin to notice the contact between your breath and all the space above and around you. Feeling all this contact above us, above the body, and below the body. And then notice all the contact within the body. And as we continue to draw our senses inward, and as we continue to arrive into the space of our practice, we'll begin to find this layer of understanding in between all of these layers of contact. Again, take a sweep of consciousness, relax and release any muscles that might be clenched. And then we're going to open up our space with a few cleansing breaths. Together, let's inhale through the nose. Open the lips to exhale. Again, like that. Deep breath in. And a deep breath out. One more time. Full inhale. And complete exhale. And from here, we'll begin to reach the arms up and above the head, taking a full body stretch. We'll begin to bend the knees one at a time, bringing the feet flat to the floor. Now you can lower your arms. Coming into the twist, option one, we can hug the knees into the chest, and then you're going to twist over to the right so that your left leg is on top. That's option one for a supine twist. Option two, you'll straighten your legs towards the ceiling. Wrap your left leg around your right so that you're in twisted roots. Now, if you have the space, you're welcome to double hook
the left foot around the right calf. So maybe you're, twisted roots there. But anyway, you can swing your hips to the left so that your knees can twist to the right. So either way, we're twisting to the right with the left leg on top. Whether you choose twisted root or supine twist, your choice. But again, you might have those props nearby, whether you're propping the knees in between the thighs or underneath the right knee, bringing the ground closer towards you. If the back of the head would like a support, find a pillow or blanket. As we twist to the right, that might lift up your left shoulder. So if you'd like to prop the left shoulder blade, you're welcome to as well. But from there, arms can stay near you, arms can reach above you, whatever is best. And then when you're ready, you can allow the eyes to close. We'll come into stillness. We'll begin to arrive into the stretch. We'll arrive into the shape of the pose. Notice the sensations that you feel. Sensations in the lower body, middle of the body, or upper body. Continue to notice this constant contact between the body and floor, the constant contact between the breath and your body, that constant contact of all the layers in between. Beginning to soften here. Beginning to relax and let go of any unnecessary tension, any unnecessary control. Releasing into the shape. As you continue to soften, notice how the body is adapting. Notice the expansion within the breath. Noticing the gaze at the backs of the eyelids. Now, within your twist, let yourself find one more full cycle of breath. And then from there, you'll begin to awaken. Your arms might lower down first. And then you can help your legs unravel from the twist, one at a time, no rush. As you begin to unravel, you might find some natural movement, hugging the knees in and rocking side to side on the tailbone. You might immediately feel that crave to straighten the legs long, reach the arms up above the head. But after you take these mini movements, you'll then come to pause, where we take that meditative moment for rebound. It could look as relaxing as you'd like it to be, whether you stay on your back, roll to your belly, come up to sit, no right or wrong. But you want to take that moment to pause. Feel the subtle sensations as the fascia contracts back. Noticing the reclaimed space within the body. And within your moment to rebound, let yourself soften here as well. And then from here, if you would like to stay a little longer, you are welcome to stay in your rebound shape. Or we'll begin to transition into our twist on the left side. So if you choose to take supine twist, you might bring the hips to the left, hugging the knees into the chest. To the right, bring the hips to the right, hug the knees into the left as you twist with that right leg on top. If you're choosing twisted roots, straightening the legs up towards the ceiling, wrap the right leg around the left. You might double hook around the calf or not. And again, you'll leave the hips over to the right as you twist to the left. You might find some pillows or blankets to prop your knees or to prop your shins. You might prop your right shoulder. You might prop the back of the head. And then the arms can relax wherever they want. One arm can be lower than the other. One arm can be higher than the other. You'll notice this ability to steer the stretch. Placing one arm in a certain position, placing a leg in a certain position, that might alter the location of the stretch, the texture of the stretch. And of course, whenever you're ready, you'll close your eyes and arrive into stillness. Again, noticing lower body stretching, middle of the body, upper body. There's no right or wrong place to feel a stretch. Wherever your fascia is a little knotted or tightly bounded, those are the places that will stretch first, regardless of what the mind expects.
And continue to let go of unnecessary tension. Letting go of any gripping or clenching that you find. Be patient with yourself as you soften. Begin to understand the body as you soften. Within the twist, taking one more full cycle of breath. And at the bottom of the exhale, you'll gently begin to awaken. Your arms might lower down. You might lift one leg at a time. And just find those counter stretches, find those counter movements, whatever direction the body is guiding you towards. The fascia might crave some counter reaches for the arms or lengthening of the legs. The body is expressing to you here, and we're trying to understand and listen. But as you take these counter movements, eventually they will transition you to come back to stillness, and they'll transition you into a space to pause. Sitting within the space of the body itself, and taking a moment to feel that imprint of the experience. Softening even in your rebound pose. And then from here, if you'd like to stay a little longer, you're more than welcome to. Or you'll begin to awaken the body a little bit. You might find a movement. And then this will bring us into butterfly. So we'll stay here on the floor on the back one more time. Soles of the feet together, knees out wide to take butterfly. You might lift up a little bit and find some blocks, pillows, or blankets to support the outer knees or thighs. Right? Not in the way that you would in a restorative class. Right? In a restorative class, we want to try to support ourselves so much so that there's little to no sensation. But here in yin, for whatever reason, if the knees opening out is too much sensation too quick, then we would suggest, okay, take a prop. Even if it's just for one leg, take that prop so that you can support yourself within the stretch. And then when the body is ready to move a little more deeply after you've softened, then you can take the prop away. Just as an example, you know, whether that's for this particular pose or other poses in the future. From there, your arms can rest near you, maybe alongside of you or up above the head in some way. And again, you might readjust the body a few times, and then you'll let yourself close your eyes and come to stillness.
As you begin to notice sensation, allow yourself to soften. Letting go of unnecessary tension that might sit at the crown of the head, through the muscles of the face, into the neck and arms. You'll continue to guide your awareness downward as you soften through the chest and the diaphragm and the belly. Releasing through the muscles of the glutes into the thighs, into the backs of the knees. All the way through the calves and into the arches of the feet. Continue to notice the contact between the body and the floor, between the body and the breath. Even notice the contact of the eyelids. As you notice the eyelids touch, you'll begin to see at the backs of the eyelids themselves, noticing this internal screen. Different shades of darkness, different shades of lightness, texture, shape, color can appear. A few more breaths within this space. And then whenever you're ready, moving slowly, you might first awaken the arms and they'll lower down back by the hips. And then very gently, you could begin to lift the knees, placing the feet down. You might windshield wiper the knees from side to side if that's what the body's craving. Instead, you might lengthen the legs. You might reach the arms up above the head if that's what the body's craving. You might find your own intuitive movements until you like to take that pause to rebound. Just a meditative moment, noticing the subtle sensations and that reclaimed space. If you'd like to stay here a little longer, you're more than welcome to do so. Or whenever you're ready, we'll bring the knees into the chest. You might roll to one side of the body, and then we'll gently come back up to a seated shape, and no rush to get there. You can take your time. But from here, we're going to talk about coming into a forward fold. So we're going to let ourselves prepare for our pose called dragonfly, which is where we come to sit with our legs in a V shape. Now, we're going to do a couple different things though. So for one, you might find a pillow or a blanket and prop your tailbone just to assist in the fold. And then you might find some blocks or just extra stacks of pillows and blankets so that you can create this little shelf for your body to rest on. Now, some people are going to want to stack horizontally. Other people might do things a little bit more elongated. Or you might lift everything up in a vertical way so that your forehead could rest. You also have the option to just wrap everything around your belly. Okay? But what we're going to do here is we're going to play around with the placement of our legs. So usually we just allow ourselves to relax, and that's how we're going to start, with our ankles relaxed however they are, naturally. But then from there, we're going to open the feet up. So once I say externally rotate, we're going to practice opening up our ankles. That opens up our knees and opens up our hips. And then you'll see how the stretch starts to differ. And then after we do that for a little bit, then we're going to internally rotate and draw the feet down so that the ankles, the knees, and the hips roll in. And then again, you'll notice how that steers the stretch a little differently. So for right now, we're just going to start in a relaxed way. And then from there, we'll transition. I'll let you know when. So for now, you might even notice as the ankles relax naturally, do the toes point in? Do the toes point out? Are the toes somewhat neutral? One leg might be different than the other. But let your toes relax, let your ankles relax. The spine can be a little more straight or round, depending on how the body is guiding you. And as you close your eyes and as you allow yourself to arrive, begin to notice the sensations that present themselves to you. Breathing towards them, releasing towards them, letting go of that unnecessary tension and control. Now you have the option to keep the feet exactly where they are. If you choose to practice external rotation, begin to pick up the feet, roll the ankles, the knees, and the hips open and back. Now, if you're naturally already in external rotation, you probably won't feel that much of a difference. But if you're not, then you will feel a little difference here as we hold the external. And you're not fighting your body by any means, right? So if you notice that one leg needs to release that holding of external rotation, please let it go. But notice all this interconnectedness. Notice new areas that you can soften into. Relaxing the calves, the backs of the knees. And again, you might need to soften into the glutes, letting the belly expand beneath you. And staying with the breath here.
And if you really like this external rotation, you're welcome to stay. Or in our dragonfly, we'll now begin to draw the toes in. Draw the ankles in, the knees in, the hips in. Not very far, right? But just drawing the internal rotation now. Notice any differences. And again, you'll soften through the calves into the skin behind the knees, relaxing the glutes and the belly. Continue to listen and understand the body. If it asks you to readjust, we'll want to listen to that. A few more breaths exactly where you are. Now, if you're holding any of the rotations, begin to let your feet relax, coming back to neutral. And then very slowly, we'll begin to place the palms down one at a time. We'll begin to walk ourselves up out of the pose. You might even pause for a moment there until you let your legs begin to release. Now, depending on how you want to move, you might stay seated. Sometimes after dragonfly, it feels good to come into tabletop. You can shake the hips side to side. You might find a round of cat-cow as you extend and flex through the spine. And you can take this into many different shapes, whether they're yoga shapes or just natural body movement. And then you'll allow yourself to pause somewhere. For example, I'll take child's pose here, but you'll take your rebound pause wherever you'd like. Noticing this imprint that begins to arrive into the layers of the body. Observing that previous stretch, that previous experience. Letting the physical fascia have a moment of transition as it contracts back to all of the joints and all of the muscles and all of the organs and joints. Okay, so from here, you're welcome to stay in rebound for as long as you'd like. Or we'll begin to slowly come out of the pose, whatever rebound you're in. And we'll start talking about our next stretch. Okay. So this pose is going to be, we're essentially going to take a double stretch. So when we take things that I call double stretches, we're coming into two poses back to back, no rebound. So we won't rebound until after the second stretch. So what I mean by this is we're going to take open wing and then twisted wing. So for example, you might find a pillow or a blanket to support the head. Your left arm is going to come out to T. And as you roll into that left shoulder, your back, your arm is behind you, so you're not looking at it. Okay? So in that event, left arm comes out to T, you'll roll into the shoulder.
You'll have the knees come bent up into the chest if you'd like less stretch. You'll straighten your legs one at a time, or you might lift up that back knee and the foot can be placed behind the thigh or in front of the thigh. That will just depend on what your hip is interested in. So feel free to play around there. I'll talk about the second stretch later, but just so you know, we're going to be coming into 2 poses back to back. For now, we'll start in open wing. As your left arm is behind you, your right hand can stay in front of the chest, or it can reach up and back to take a half bind, as long as the wrist and shoulder can relax. In terms of that arm that's in open wing, the palm can face down or up, right? So just do what's best for the rotation of your wrist, elbow, and shoulder. And again, taking any variation with the legs. You'll then close your eyes and come to stillness. We might think at first that the stretch of open wing is just a shoulder or chest stretch. But we don't want to limit our possibilities here. Right? The fascia that's connected throughout the entire body can express stretching in the torso, in the back, in the glutes, in the hips. It'll just be different depending on how your body feels today, how your bones are structured. As you observe these sensations, allow yourself to begin to soften if you haven't already. Letting go of any clenching or gripping. And feel the body soften and relax within itself. Noticing this interconnectedness as we come to terms with the layers of understanding and what understanding might mean to you. What it looks like, what it feels like. And let's keep this left arm still. If the right arm is bounded back behind you, we'll slowly reach that arm up towards the ceiling and place it back in front of us. If your legs are apart, guide one back on top of the other. As you gently roll onto your belly, that right arm can help you release from the left shoulder. Now you might bring your arms to the top of the mat, back behind the hips, right? If you need a moment, take a moment. But we're not going to stay here very long because I'd like us to transition into the next stretch. So that same left arm, both hands are going to come to the top of the mat. Press your right arm down as you lift your chest. You're going to thread your left arm underneath you, right? So this is kind of like thread the needle, but here in the yin space, we call it twisted wing, and we're on our belly. So our left arm is underneath us, right arm is at the top of the mat, right? You might need to adjust that arm and the shoulder. Your head, your forehead can come to the pillow, or you can turn to your left cheek. And again, palms can face up or down. You might bring your legs in a wide V, kind of like the dragonfly we just did, bringing your legs as wide as you'd like, or as close as you'd like, depending on what's good for your body. At any point, if you'd like a little more sensation, pick up that right arm and take a half bind around the low back. Again, if your wrist and shoulder can relax, this might be a good place. If not, bring that right arm back to the top of the mat. So once you adjust the body, you'll close the eyes, arrive into stillness. And now begin to notice your entire front body connected to the floor beneath you. And feeling the entire back body connected to the space that's above and around you. And we'll dive a little deeper into this topic of understanding as I read from my little cards of universal truths. True understanding is the language from the heavens. It is a knowledge that is acquired, retained, and extended. It is the wisdom that makes the difference between war and peace. Our duty is not to see through one another, but to see one another through. As humans, we have such clouded vision. We need to broaden our horizons and expand our viewpoints. So before reading on, take a few breaths just to sit with that chunk of information. How do we understand knowledge? Or how is the knowledge of understanding something we acquire, retain, and extend? There's a difference, there's a shift when we understand someone else. That's a certain feeling. When someone understands us, that's a certain feeling. And then when we understand ourselves, that's a certain feeling. If your right arm is bounded behind you, let's slowly reach the arm up and place it at the top of the mat. From there, as we press down into the floor, we'll lift up the chest, unthread that left arm. And as we lower back down, you might keep your hands above you, underneath you, back by the hips. If it feels good, you can kick the feet up and windshield wiper the knees from side to side a little bit as you rock into the hips. It might feel good to just remain on the belly. But if you'd like to bring your palms underneath you and pull the heart forward for low cobra, you might lift the spine all the way up and take it back into child's pose, or you might just lower right down to the belly. Maybe come to your back, maybe come to a place to sit. But then taking those mini movements to yourself until you're ready to transition into that pause. Sitting within the space of your own company. Noticing the subtle sensations from the echoes of the fascia. Taking another moment to yourself here. And then wherever you are, you might find a few little movements to awaken from rebound. Eventually, you'll guide yourself back to your belly. And there's no rush to get there, but we'll come back to the belly. You might find that pillow or blanket for the head, and we're going to start with open wing. So right arm will open out to that T, and then you'll roll into the right shoulder. So as you roll into the right shoulder, you're not going to be able to see the back of your hand. Palm will face up or down. You might bring the knees high into the chest, if that's best. You might straighten your legs. Maybe you have one knee bent into the chest, like your left knee is bent into the chest, but your right leg is long. That might be comfortable. Or you'll keep the knee bent with the foot flat to the floor, like a little kickstand. And of course, the left palm will stay in front, or you'll reach it up and around the low back, taking a half bind. Remembering you're never stuck, so be willing to adjust the body if that guidance is there. And just stretching enough to feel sensation, but of course not overstepping that boundary and feeling pain. But as we arrive into our open wing, begin to observe. And as you allow yourself to arrive, you'll begin to soften. Softening into the layers of body like a dance. Noticing how sensation can shift,
travel, become steady. And checking in with the breath just to make sure it's present here. Breathing as deeply or as quietly as you'd like. Let's keep the right arm still. If the left arm is bounded behind you, we'll slowly lift this left palm towards the ceiling and float the arm back down. No rush. Legs can come one on top of the other, and you'll help yourself roll out of this right shoulder. You might lift the chest up for a moment to readjust. And letting the hands relax naturally here, just taking a little moment to pause, just taking a moment. Not a full rebound though. But this will transition us into twisted wing. So if you want to find that pillow or blanket, your left palm will press down into the floor, and we're going to thread the right arm underneath the chest. This time your forehead will come down, or you'll turn to your right cheek, whatever is best. Left palm can stay at the top corner of your mat, or again, you'll pick up the arm, bend at the elbow, and let the palm rest at the low back. Your feet can be as wide as your mat or as close as you'd like. Once you feel the glutes soften and the thighs relax, that will be the best place for the feet. Closing your eyes, arriving into stillness, softening when you feel ready. And as we continue to notice this interconnectedness, our understanding for ourselves continues to build and strengthen. We'll add on a little more information from that universal truth of understanding. Understanding comes from the mutual recognition and respect of differences. It is a humble intelligence that comes from open-mindedness and open-heartedness. It is our duty to understand another, and it is our divine right to be understood. Remember, understanding is the universal medicine that can heal all the wounds of the world. Understanding is a humble intelligence that comes from open-mindedness and open-heartedness. We discussed that a lot within our yin practice. Softening, guiding us to be open-minded, softening, guiding us to be open-hearted. But remember that understanding is something that we can give to others and to ourselves. It's something that we can receive from others and ourselves. It's saying here, our duty to understand one another, right? Understanding is a duty, but it is also our divine right to be understood. Keeping your right arm still. If the left arm is bounded behind you, let's slowly pick the arm up and bring it back in front of us. From there, as we press down into the floor, we'll unthread that right arm. And then as you slowly lower your chest, let your hands and arms relax wherever is intuitive, wherever the body desires. Again, you can rock into the hips or kick the feet up and windshield wiper the knees from side to side. That might be enough movement and you'll stay on your belly. Again, you can bring your palms underneath your shoulders, and as you lift the chest, you'll pull the heart forward. You might transition all the way back into child's pose or down dog. Maybe you take a few other movements and then let yourself arrive in rebound, whatever that looks like to you. And just taking that moment to pause and reflect. Just taking one more moment here to notice and sit within the space. And then before you transition out of rebound completely,
you're welcome to take any little movements. So if it's something that the body, again, is craving in the same way we might crave a juice or coffee or water, the body might crave a movement for the arms or for the legs. And then we'll all transition back to a seated shape. This is so that we can come into our toe stretch. So, coming into toe stretch, you might bring a blanket underneath your knees because we're on our knees for toe stretch. As we come to the knees, if it's comfortable, again, you don't need a blanket. If you'd like to find that extra prop, you're welcome to it. And you'll allow your toes to tuck. And as your toes are tucked, you'll sit back on your heels. Now, of course, as you sit back on your heels or as you lean back, that will deepen stretch. But if it's too much sensation at any point in time, right, you might come forward to your blocks. You might come down to your forearms. You might come down to the floor. You might even hinge forward a little bit. Okay, so whatever is best for you. If your arms are not on blocks, you're welcome to keep your hands on your thighs or letting them rest off the body. Your chin is neutral, or you'll lower your chin and let your head be a little heavy here. And then you'll close your eyes just like we normally would, arriving into the stretch. Relax through the jaw, relax through the tongue. Relaxing through the shoulders, softening through the sides of the neck there. And you'll continue to let your chest, your diaphragm, and your belly relax. That might shift the glutes, that might shift the knees, but as the body continues to soften, we're supporting the fascial stretch within the feet. And keeping the breath present as you find these layers of comfort, as you find these layers of discomfort and all of the spaces in between. A few more breaths here. You'll find one more full cycle of breath, taking another inhale and another exhale. And then very gently, you'll start to hinge forward. As you hinge forward, you might move some props out of the way. Palms coming down, you'll guide one knee back underneath the hip and the other. And as you untuck your toes, you might drum the tops of the feet on the floor. You might pick up the feet and let them shake a little bit, or roll through your ankles, wiggle through your toes, whatever feels good. Okay, and then from there, we'll begin to take any final last movements, anything if the body is craving, and then we'll prepare for our Shavasana. And with that Shavasana, if you did go grab a cream or an oil or something, you'll keep that close by. If not, you'll just use the warmth of your hands to give yourself that little Shavasana assist. Okay? But for now, before we even do that, let's just get ourselves comfortable laying down. You might find a pillow or a blanket or something to support the head. The feet might be warm enough, but if the body is feeling a little cool right now, you can always take a blanket to cover the body. Okay. And then again, keeping that cream and oil close by, but letting yourself lay back down, readjusting any clothing, readjusting any props, just so that you're completely comfortable. And before we fully let ourselves into Shavasana, If you do have that cream or oil, you'll take a little bit in your hand. Right? If not, either way, regardless, everyone's going to bring their hands together and you'll rub some heat, make some friction within the hands and or rubbing that cream or oil. And then from that heat or friction of the palms, you're going to place the hands somewhere. So maybe you bring your hands back behind the neck and massage into the area there, right? The back of the neck or the throat. You might even guide your hands up to the back of the skull. Instead, you might even bring your palms to your shoulders, rubbing along the shoulders a little bit. Right hand on the left shoulder, left hand on the right shoulder. It could also feel good to take your index fingers, bringing them to the temples of your forehead, and let yourself massage a little bit here. Just giving that slight pressure to the temples of the forehead, moving your index fingers in circles, maybe a few times one way, and then a few times the other way. And then after you feel completed from this Shavasana assist, right? If you do have that cream or oil, you might allow yourself to smell that scent or aroma around you. I have a little extra warmth within my hand, so I'm even pulling at each finger, right? Just massaging into each finger a little bit as I just pull from the knuckle all the way to the top of the fingernail. That could also feel good, and you can do that for all 10 fingers. Maybe even rubbing your hands once more, and then allowing your arms and your hands to completely relax. Allow your legs and your feet to be completely relaxed. And as we close our eyes and settle into stillness, again, noticing the contact between the body and floor. Noticing all the layers of contact within the body and with the breath. Feeling that contact to the space above and around you. As we allow ourselves to absorb this practice of understanding, we'll welcome ourselves to Shavasana. Very gently. Let's begin to deepen our breath. Beginning to draw ourselves back to the awareness of our bodies, into the awareness of our rooms, and into the room we energetically share. As you begin to notice the placement of the hands and feet, you'll start to awaken through the wrists and through the ankles. You might lift the arms up and above the head to take a full body stretch. And then following the knees, bending one knee at a time. It could feel good to windshield wiper the knees from side to side. From there, you might hug the knees into the chest and wrap around the shins and backs of the thighs. If it feels good, you can draw your forehead up to your knees and then lengthen from the back of the neck. When you're ready, you'll intuitively roll to the left or right side. Taking a moment on your side body, you might even stay there to end practice, or you might gently press down into the floor and come back up to a seated shape. No right or wrong and no rush here. Take your time. But wherever you are, you'll gravitate back towards stillness and you'll reclose the eyes in case they've opened. Taking that moment of reflection. Noticing here the reclaimed space within the body, the expansion within the breath, and any clarity within the heart or mind. You can keep your hands relaxed within the lap, or you can bring them into a prayer shape at heart center. We'll close our class with one cleansing breath. We'll inhale through the nose and open the lips to exhale. Gently bowing your chin to your chest. Thank you for practicing with me this evening, being elevated through yoga. Namaste.